Welcome back to Two Highs, Two Lows. It's the continuation. It's the only original piece of YouTube content we do. Of course, the home of Wrestling Brain, twitch.tv/Wrestling Brain, where we're trying to get things going over here on YouTube. We suck at it so far. It can only be called an abject failure. The number's in the toilet. So if you're here, help us, hit subscribe, tell a friend, give us a share on social media. Lord knows we could use it. Ryan, how are you enjoying doing the show, and how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. I love the highs and lows. It gives you and I a opportunity to kind of unpack an episode of Dynamite a bit more. And if you're saying the numbers and the YouTube is in the toilet, I worry that means that the small amount of viewers we have, they're in the toilet with us. And quite frankly, that's just unhygienic.
Well, they're going to help us fight out of it.
There we
go.
go.
It's a beautiful thing. We're not getting flushed, us and them. We're going to thrive. Soon this will be like the Twitch, like the Patreon, and of course, Twitch every Wednesday if you do want our full review of Dynamite. We're live for 4 years now, every Wednesday after Dynamite, twitch.tv/Wrestling Brain. Let's get to it, Ryan. Two highs, two lows. Let's start off with a negative, Ryan. Give me one of your lows from the evening.
Boy, there was a lot I liked about Dynamite this week, but when it came time for them to announce another championship, that was my eyes rolled back into my head and just baffled as to why. First off, they called it the National Championship. Okay, that's great. Okay, great. MVP, it's so important. MVP goes and cuts a promo about it. He refers to it as the International Championship. There's also a slightly combined or retired international championship that's supposed to be the unified championship. I'm not somebody that it's like, oh, you can't have too many, there's a certain amount of belts required. I just think there's no need for this. It's confusing. There's about 4 of these belts that are kind of in the mix, that will be in the mix. 3 of them allegedly Okada has. And in a build where they are building up a new championship that really makes sense in the AEW Women's Tag Team Championship, it seemed kind of baffling to just throw another men's championship onto the pile. So that was a big low for me.
Yeah, I got to say, I saw your sentiment shared everywhere, either on the Twitter feed, on the Blue Sky feed. It really felt like people were not feeling warm towards any new title. It just seems like they are clear as day. This could be the most fun stipulation championship in the world, the 24/7 cage match inferno championship or what have you. And people would still be not wanting it. And I understand that, especially with, like, as you point out, the addition of the tag team titles. I remember the promise of the All Atlantic Championship was that this was going to be something like sort of AEW's extension to the Indies. You'd see it on TV sometimes, but if they had talent working down there, this would be a spot they could go and get some reps. And if this is going to be something like that, which I'm not going to pretend that I know the NWA National Championship, but this is what people were sort of saying that belt was serving on the territories. And then it does seem like that's going to be the continued lineage. I don't understand if Tony Khan slipped Billy Corgan a couple bucks or the exact logistics of that. But like you say, MVP shouts out Dusty Rhodes and others as previous title holders there. So yeah, I saw a ton of people complaining about the addition of another title in AEW, and I get it.
Yeah, and they start rattling off this impressive of lineage and heritage. So like any intrigued wrestling fan, you go and look it up, and it's still an active championship, and it has a current holder, Mike Mondo, one of the Spirit Squad members. So, like, are they going to include him in this? Are they just taking the lineage and heading out of Dodge? Like, it's really strange and just completely unnecessary, in my opinion.
If I'm a betting man, Mike Mondo is not in that casino. Gauntlet. That's just my guess. One of my lows, Ryan, the return of Jack Perry. I said I was going to go in with an open heart and an open mind. I said Jurassic Express is the most I've ever enjoyed this guy. On the channel, I'm known as a bit of a hater of his, I suppose. And I'm going to give this a chance. Sad to say, I'm still in hater mode. I really don't like this version of Jurassic Express where he carries the knife around. He's stabbing the money. I don't buy him as believably intimidating and steering so far into the slow talk, stern, I carry a knife. It really feels like the least likely way that I'm ever going to connect with him. It doesn't even seem to mesh with his in-ring style, which is very high energy and athletic. He just still feels very out of step. I did like Luchasaurus at the end of that segment going for the $100 bill. I thought that got a laugh out of me, but I don't like this version of Jurassic Express. And they're not even they're again, they feel more of a trio with Kenny Omega than they do a straight up tag team lately. So yeah, I haven't enjoyed this second Jurassic Express return. They're still getting the reactions, but I'm curious to see how long even those keep up.
It's odd to see him work, and his body language and kind of demeanor and the way he carries himself, and then to have that odd slowed down talking, it just completely doesn't fit, and it makes it look like he's trying to remember what to say. So that's
very forced.
That's a fair low right there.
How about on the high front, Ryan? Hit me with something good.
I'm really high on the AEW Women's Tag Team Championship tournament. It's really well put together. I really like the matchups. I like that every team, there's intrigue with every team. And one of those I wasn't initially intrigued with was Harley Cameron and Willow Nightingale. They looked like a stepping stone for Mercedes and co.
Yeah.
Of just like, well, that's the big powerhouse team. You want to see them run roughshod. And to have this really competitive back and forth match, you talked about it on the stream that it's one of the better one of the matches where Harley's looked a lot better, and it just really hooked me. I was watching thinking like, all right, in a matter of time, the Mercedes Moné is gonna just take this and sink a 3 and that'll be done. But really love the back and forth match. I love the attempted interference, and it was really cool to see this kind of essentially an underdog team get the win. And we don't want to compare things to New York too much, but one of the fun things they did about a decade ago was randomly throw Rhino and Heath Slater together into this team that why
right
are
after
they
the
there?
brand split, fresh SmackDown.
Yeah. And you kind of rooted for them, and I really like I'm not crazy about the combination, but I'm enjoying what they're doing with what they got. So the Harley Cameron and Willow Nightingale win was a big high for me this week.
I thought it's really just keyed in booking too from Tony Khan. Like, it's a nice way that you can subvert people, where you see the team of Willow Nightingale and Harley Cameron, and then you see the team of Athena and Mercedes Moné. And just lately, as a wrestling fan, you go, well, Harley Cameron's the one who's going to either tap or get pinned in this match. That's just going to happen. She's the least by such a far measure on sort of the kayfabe power ranking or whatever you'd say on that scale. And to do the exact opposite is really cool and a nice way of playing us against ourselves. On the high front for me, I love stipulations. I love rematches. Getting stipulations, I think it's a great way to do wrestling booking. And returning to Mark Briscoe and Kyle Fletcher is something I said I wouldn't have done. The TNT title scene really needs some moving on from this feud. I'm here to eat my words because I love this stipulation that if Mark Briscoe loses another time, he's going to join the Don Callis family. In my mind, this needs to happen. The skits alone that you would get from Mark Briscoe just basically at gunpoint doing all this schmaltz and unveiling some stupid painting, and the inevitable breaking out from that a la Daniel Bryan in the Wyatt family. You could even fold Kyle O'Reilly into that to sort of be his rescuer. Hey, Kyle Fletcher, one more time, you and I. This time it's for Mark Briscoe's freedom from the Callis family. However you wanted to do it, I just think there's a lot of meat on that bone, which is pretty, impressive on both guys' fronts to say after they've had so much engagement with one another. But I think that would be a really fun path to pursue. So I love the addition of the stipulation. Great work by them.
Absolutely. And it's like, it's not an outlandish one. Like your career's on the line, or you are essentially barred for life to something. It's like, no, he's going to be in there. There's no outlandish stipulations. It's just, I'm going to be annoying and a fish out of water for a few weeks. And then it's just going to be fun, and it's easy, and it's easy to suspend.
A couple weeks of TV.
I like it. I'm all for it. Just like you said.
What's up next for you?
I'll go with a low. You had a good prompt on the stream on Wednesday night for Keep It or Kick It about Hook, and it's just what is it going to be? When is it going to be? What is it going to look like for him to get on to the next level? They've been trying so much, whether it's who they're putting him with, putting microphones in front of him, putting a heater with him, putting a putting somebody charismatic in front of him, and it's just it's not that intriguing. You can look at whether you're a fan of, we're all sports fans, and it's like there's that up and coming prospect that's got so much potential, and every year they keep talking about the potential. But it's like, well, potential energy is a thing where it shoots up and it becomes something different, and I just don't see it from him, and I'm kind of over it. I think that he had a cool couple years, or a cool stretch a couple years ago where he never talked and barely did anything. And I didn't have too many lows on this show, but then seeing him oddly remember to sell his back, that kind of set me off a bit, and for the finish of the match, and that was about it for me. So I'm not big on Hook's presentation right now.
Yeah, I'm on the opposite side of the coin with you. I see him trending up, but again, like you said, we took the pulse of the viewership on Wednesday, and it was pretty 50-50. There's lots of people on your side that just don't think he's ever going to get there and feel like we've almost invested enough in the journey already. So, yeah, you're far from alone. My final low for the evening is another return complaint, but it's the return of Orange Cassidy. Generally, when I'm saying something negative on the show, I like to say, hey, here's what I would do. Here's maybe another way you could do this, try to offer an idea. I feel like Orange Cassidy's in a tricky spot. I don't have a lot of clarity on, people say a heel turn. I can't even say I'm that interested in that, or there's something that feels very decidedly stale about him to me right now. And they could use somebody like him, especially to elevate any sort of mid-card heel that you have, but it just feels like he's lacking a little bit of that sizzle right now. I don't know what could bring that back in the immediate, but just having him sort of float around in conglomeration six man's exactly where he was before he got injured and took all the time off, it doesn't help that feeling either. It's like, well, he just took time off, but really was just in stasis. It doesn't feel like there was some giant return, or that he's hyper relevant in the world title scene or what have you. And I wouldn't have him in the world title scene, but I'm just saying the way he's been presented is even lower. And I feel like he just hasn't caught in fire in the way that Orange Cassidy we've seen do so many times in the past.
We've said it for weeks now. It looks like he's lost a step, and whether that's just age or coming back from an injury or what have you, I think some retooling of this character, or at least in the presentation a bit, needs to happen, because something just seems off. And for a character as memorable and as sound as Orange Cassidy, it's kind of hard to believe.
Well, they could use him too, right? Midge was meowing at me from the other chair. She wanted on YouTube. Hey, Midgie. There we go. Become a star. I think that's just the problem. And I wonder if a character like that, if just a complete character change, not even being Orange Cassidy anymore, he's Fire Ant again or something, might be something. I'm not Fire Ant in particular. I don't like the colony, but something like that, where it's such a firm character change, might be something that I would consider for him. And my final high for the evening is a guy who I thought just shone so bright in the main event. The time is now to go with Powerhouse Hobbs. I love the way this guy matches up with everybody. He's willing to get extremely rough in there. We saw the world's strongest slam from the ramp. He was just built to so many times in this match to look like Godzilla in there. He can deliver in all those moments, which isn't easy to do. And just proving that, you're in there with Samoa Joe and these other super, Katsuyori Shibata is your tag team partner, experts of the craft, and to stand out not for anything bad, but rather as the one to watch in that crew. Not that the match wasn't built around Joe being the toughest member in the unstoppable wall and building to Hangman, but Powerhouse gets to look so flashy and is just totally up to the task in every moment. We were talking about on Higher Brian this week, which of course you can find on the Wrestling Brain podcast feed. Just search Wrestling Brain wherever you find your podcasts, that there needs to be like a hyper compelling bad guy for Hangman soon. And Brian had pitched switching Brody King over, and I thought that was really interesting. I think Powerhouse Hobbs is somebody that you could really consider elevating to the Hangman level, and maybe even considering a title switch with, and it wouldn't be the worst call in the world. So yeah, one of my absolute highs on Dynamite tonight. Sky's the limit for Powerhouse Hobbs.
Hobbs is a stud. He just needs to be. There's just inconsistencies, and whether that's through him or through his booking or what have you, or the creative. he needs a bit more runway, and he needs that ball and getting some chance to run with it, because I love so much about Powerhouse Hobbs, and it's an individual and a character it's really easy to believe in and buy into, and
I thought he
I
did
think
great
he
with
would be.
Mox in the world title scene. Where was
Yeah.
he inconsistent? I feel like he's had like a really strong year. Am I
Just
forgetting something?
in general, he gets the bit of the start and stop from, in terms of placement on the card. I wouldn't say that himself is an inconsistent wrestler
Sure.
or performer, but just, you know, there's a couple of big cats on the AEW roster that they aren't necessarily forgotten, but they come and go in waves, and you don't want to see that with a guy like Powerhouse Hobbs. Quick one, Tony Storm on commentary tonight. She is a treat. She is probably my favorite professional wrestler right now. Comes in hot. Just a couple of things that stood out. She suggested that that they could be commentating her orgies, and that seemed to corpse seemingly everybody.
Yeah, ask
And
Excalibur why he hasn't done that.
correct. And then asked Daniel Bryan if they made a hemp, whether it was a cologne or a deodorant, because he stunk. And then she also kind of relayed this, she was stressed out, similar to how Mox is being presented right now. She would say something funny and then just tell whoever was speaking just to get on with it and shut up and get over and move along. So I really enjoyed her. She's such a special character, and doesn't matter what she says when she has a microphone in front of her, it's just always a high for me.
Yeah, so effective too. Like in this position where Mina Shirakawa, English isn't her first language, you get Tony Storm doing such a great job of getting her character across, calling Mina her wife, really putting that she would die for her, and if anything happens, she will be in there. She's at ringside. So it's just being able to give Mina this anchoring and connection right after losing to Mercedes too, taking the loss here, getting rehab from the former world champ, and in some ways the most important person on the show, is a great ally for one
Absolutely.
Mina Shirakawa. So there it is. 2 highs, 2 lows. Thank you all for joining us here on YouTube. Of course, twitch.tv/wrestlingbrain. For all of our properties, we're live every Monday and Wednesday. And yeah, give us a subscribe and share here if you don't mind. We're terrible at it. We'll see you soon.